Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. This is a no-nonsense, straightforward guide to upgrade the Raven Sword. To begin with, start your game as normal by turning the cannon, firing it into the castle doors, buying your way through to the Pack-a-Punch room, shooting the locks, killing the ghast that's inside, and then putting the crystal into the portal to open the PaP. Then, while you're in that area, head back into the quick revive room and go over to this wooden door. Hold square on it and you'll see an old man inside. With that done, come back to this room with all the knight statues in it and come over to this wall and it will magically open in front of you. This leads us to the alchemical lab, and there is a part in here we need to pick up, but the part randomizes, so it's one of 5 parts and each one has its own location. The first possible one is a raven's skull, and that can be found just here on this shelf if you've got it in your game. But as you can see, I've got the second possible part, which is a jawbone, and that will always be located where you can see it in my game here on this shelf. The third possible spawn is a fish fossil, and it will be sitting just here on this shelf, and it kind of looks like a small rock attached to a wooden platform. And then just behind me here, the fourth possible spawn is a scorpion fossil, which looks kind of similar to the fish, but it's got a scorpion on the front, and that's on the table. And the fifth possible spawn is just behind where this box will spawn in, and you can get salvage from it, and it's just there on the shelf, and that one is a ram's horn, which kind of looks like never mind. Once you've picked up your part, if you want to refer back to which one you grabbed, you can just pull up your scoreboard and you'll see it just here in your picked up items. Next, you need to get a stamp, and this can be acquired from Helm zombies once you reach round 10. Now, there are some ways that you can get them to spawn earlier in your game, but I'll link that stuff down in the description down below. For the most part, you're just going to want to get to round 10 and then one of them will spawn in. If you try and shoot it in the head, it will say immune, so just shoot it in the body, and then when it dies, it will drop a gold glowing stamp. Hold square to pick that up, and again, it will go into your items if you pull up your scoreboard, if you want to check whether or not you grabbed one. And then you need to come to the knight room once again. In here, there are 4 knight statues: the lion, the dragon, the stag, and the raven. And you can see the actual raven itself sitting on the knight's shoulder. Go over to that statue and hold square on it to give it your stamp, and in return, it will hold out the raven's sword, which you can pick up. Now, if you've maybe been juggling between the different swords and you don't know which one you have at a given time, you can always just pull your sword out, and in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, it will say the name of the sword, which will just be useful as easy reference. So once you've grabbed the raven sword and you've got your bone part from the alchemical lab, you need to head back to the spawn. Now, you've got 2 options here. If you just want to build the raven sword, just run to spawn. That's fine. But if you plan to get the dark incantation in your game, you could take the sewer back to spawn and use that as an opportunity to shoot the raven in the sewer and then shoot the raven in the sky afterwards to get yourself the raven's talon. Anyway, assuming just building the sword is all you care about, you need to head down into the basement underneath the tavern in the spawn area. If you go up to this metal wheel on the wall, you'll be able to hold square on it and deposit your bone item. And if you hold square on it again, you'll be able to deposit your raven sword. But this will only work if you have the raven sword on you at that time. Then once that's done, it's going to allow you to interact with the wheel, and you'll see a bunch of symbols. On screen right now, I've created a graphic that solves this for you. So all you've got to do is just figure out which item you have in your game, match it to the corresponding part of the graphic. So if you've got the lion jaw like I do, then you need to look at the lion jaw on the graphic, and then use the bumpers on your controller to rotate the inner and outer rings in your game so that they match the position of the rings on the graphic for your item. And the easiest way to do this is to look at the 2 symbols directly below the item. So just to make this absolutely crystal clear in case anybody's confused, we'll now go through each of them one by one. So for Raven, you want the bottom green symbol to be the upward facing triangle with a line through it, and then you want this blue symbol below it. And be careful with this one because it's quite easy to get mixed up and mistake this blue symbol for another one of the blue symbols. So just double check that you've got this one next to the sort of like water squiggles, I guess. That's how you know this is definitely the one that you want. Next, for the lion jaw, you want the green upward facing pyramid at the bottom, and you want this squiggly symbol in blue just below it. For the fish fossil, if you're confused and you're like, I don't have a fish, I've just got a rock, like it's a plain rock, it's just because the fish is actually on the bottom of the fossil, and it's just a little hard to see. But for that fish, we want the downward facing triangle for the green, and we want this symbol in blue. And once again, it's easy to get this mixed up with the other symbol that was next to the sort of water squiggles, right? And so double check to make sure that you're selecting the correct symbol when you try and enter this combination. Next, we've got the scorpion fossil, which is a little easier to see that there is actually a scorpion on there. And for this, we want the downward facing triangle, and we want this M. And again, there are two different M's, so make sure you're selecting the right one. It should have the 69 next to it. That's how you know you've got the correct M. And then finally, for the ram's horn, we want the upward facing green triangle, and then underneath it, we want this symbol just here. So as a worked example, here's me entering my jaw combination, because that's the one that I had in my game, remember? So it's the upward triangle, and then it's this squiggly symbol, and then I'm just going to hit circle or B on my controller to enter the combination, and if done correctly, you'll see that you get a kind of sound cue, and a purple portal will open in the room that you're standing in. It won't always be in the exact same corner of the room, but this is where mine is, and then you're going to see pink balls spawning out of the wheel. These balls will chase you, and so you just need to make sure that you sort of drag the balls into the hole, and one by one, they will flow in there, and when you've put 3 balls in the hole will disappear, and you'll see a pink kind of smoky effect start moving to the upstairs in the tavern. Follow it and look for where it opens up a new hole, and then just drag 3 more balls into the hole, and the hole will then close again, and the pink wisp will move to a third and final spot where a hole will open. Drag your balls into the hole one more time, and be careful because if the balls hit you, you'll take damage. So just make sure that the balls go in the hole and not into you, and then with the third hole closed, the pink wisp will return to the wheel where we entered the code before. You can then hold square on it once again, and it will perform a little ritual sequence, and out will pop your Raven Sword. Now, the Raven Sword has a few obvious abilities and 1 or 2 secret abilities. First of all, when it's charged up, you'll hear a crow sound, and regular attacks on zombies will sometimes proc a Shadow Rift alternate ammo mod, causing them to be sucked into a hole and then dropped from the sky. But if you use your charged attack, it's going to actually create a larger rift in front of you, and that will suck zombies in, and you can also jump into the rift to teleport to a nearby location. Then you'll need to get kills with the sword in order to charge it back up again, and then you'll hear the crow once more once it's charged and ready for another charged attack. Alternatively, if you pick up a max ammo, that will also charge your sword back to full. And there's a free max ammo you can get just by shooting here if you want to do that. But that isn't all. You can also parry parasites with the sword, so you can reflect back their spit, and you can parry while an amalgam is sucking you, and if you do so, you'll be sucked completely safely. You'll take no damage, and your armor will be completely unaffected. But I think one of the coolest uses for the Raven Sword is during the boss fight, you can actually parry the boss itself to take no damage whatsoever. So give this a try doing the Easter egg. I've got it linked on screen right now. It's my no-nonsense guide. It's going to make it super easy for you to do, and then you can use the sword in there to parry the boss and take it down. So click through now, and I'll see you there.